Hey guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're well. I just saw all of you a couple hours ago in Collins Stream, and now you're here. So, when do you sleep? Do you sleep? Are you guys real? You guys are just bots, aren't you? Someone's messing with me. So, all of you who have to work today, haha, I have off. I know that was mean, but hi, Steve. But if it makes you feel any better, I just worked two doubles and Sunday was Mother's Day, and I worked a double, and I was the only server all day in the whole restaurant. So even my hair hurts right now. I couldn't work tomorrow if I wanted to. If I have to smile at one more customer and laugh at their joke, I don't know what I'm going to do. I didn't see Biggins stream because I was watching Colin's stream and I accidentally stumbled in while they were talking about alcohol. And I knew I needed to get to work, but they were talking about alcohol, so I stayed. Hi, Lori. Thank you. Same to you. So I stayed, and it was awesome. Colin's so cool. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Drunk stumble. Okay. So, even though, Kelly, I know you don't like child support cases, but you're going to like this one a bit because it's not so much about the child support. It's about these two people not being able to follow clear directions. I mean, seriously, I don't understand why people just can't be quiet when a judge in a courtroom says, please be quiet. But they don't. But let's go slowly. So, this guy is in court in front of O'Donnell. And we love O'Donnell. He doesn't take any crap. Thanks, Lori DJ. And just so you know, when I see your name, I think about a DJ. You know, people who take a vinyl and put it on a little stick and put a needle on it. But I know that's not at all what that means. You said it the other day, and I can't remember what it is, but it's not DJ. But just like Lizette in my head is Lisi, you will always be a DJ in my head. And there's nothing you can do about it because it's my head. You can do what I want in there. All right, let's start with a great idea. Guys, we're all going to be rich if we just do it. There it is, De Jesus. Okay, let's get rich. Here we go.
Okay? So you have to get yourself out of this thing. I don't think your father's gonna magically appear, and if he does, it's probably not a good thing anyway, right?
Yes,
Because he has no idea who you are, right?
yes,
Okay? So you gotta do something about this. All right, so I have reviewed the pre-sentence report and the entire situation here. I've listened to Mr. Hubbard, Mr. Watson, Ms. Naroda, and I listened to the torture that I made Kim Randallson go through. And I've considered all of the applicable statutes. I'm going to place you on community control for 5 years. So you're going to serve 205 days in the county jail with credit for 145. You are, when a bed becomes available at NeoCap, you're going to go into that program and you're going to complete that program and follow all those recommendations. So Kim, do you have any idea what the wait time on that is?
For the men, I do not, Your Honor, but I do know when you say as soon as the bed is available, they don't have to be JTC. They usually go pretty fast.
Okay. So as soon as it opens up, you'll go. And you're either gonna take advantage of what goes on there, or you're not, right? You can do one of two things. You can go there and listen, learn, all right? And if what you told me is true, what you did in prison, my guess is you'll sit there and listen and learn, okay? Or you'll stare at the wall and fail out. That's up to you. When you're done with NeoCap, you're gonna come back to the jail in what's called the Transitional Day Reporting Program, which is going to assist you in trying to figure out where to go, mainly housing and employment-wise, okay? If there's no need for it, then that'll be vacated. You're to have no drugs or alcohol, and you'll be screened. I want you to get your GED, obtain and maintain full employment. You've never gotten a driver's license, right?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so you're gonna get a valid driver's license, and you're gonna pay the costs and supervision fees for this case. Anything else, Ms. Randallson? Any other terms?
Your Honor, how long would you recommend to participate in the transitional day reporting program?
Well, let's just call it 30 days and
Okay.
see what happens, okay?
Thank you. No, Your Honor, I think that you have touched on it.
Okay, you understand everything?
Yes.
Any questions about anything?
Oh, yes, he does. He has a question.
Will I be able to get my legal marijuana card?
That's a bad question.
Great question.
That's a bad, you know why that's a bad question?
Great question.
You know why I think that's a bad question?
No.
Because all that is a bunch of poison. So why would you want to get your legal marijuana card?
Because I want to start a invention.
Huh?
I'm trying to make my own company, my own business.
Okay, you don't need a, why would you need to take marijuana to start your own business?
It's hard. I'm gonna explain it. Can I explain
Yeah,
it?
go ahead. Go, I want you to explain it to me. The only thing you have to fear is fear itself, Bill, so go ahead and explain it to me.
Make it make sense.
My invention is called Gas Dash. It's like DoorDash, but since marijuana is legal now in Ohio, it's for marijuana. And I be a lot of the times, like I got PTSD from a lot of things I deal with.
Okay.
And marijuana sometimes help. I don't jump all the time or.
Yeah, but you ain't had that for at least 145 days, right? So how's your mind now?
My mind is stable.
Okay. See, you strike me as somebody who has the ability to think clearly. And all marijuana does is inhibit your ability to think clearly. Okay? I couldn't give a rat's ass that you can get a legal marijuana card. I don't care that it's legal. Okay? There's nothing good that comes from it. So that's a long way in saying the answer
Money.
is no. Okay? Any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right, if you don't comply, the state will file a motion to terminate your community.
What a great idea to bring up to this judge while you are on your third probation violation. Oh my gosh, that was so great. Hi, Rome. Okay, we're going to stay in this courtroom for one more clip. And this is like a roller coaster of mental health. I don't know how else to describe it. So just put your seatbelt on because you have reality, but then when he talks, there's like a different reality, a parallel reality. And the judge is trying to bridge this gap, and he can't. He never does. It's crazy. Here we go.
Understand that charge?
Yes, Your Honor.
April 4th, charge in Painesville Municipal Court with possession of drug paraphernalia, obstructing official business. You understand that charge?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Nicholson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, at this time, my client is going to admit to the violations and waive his right to a hearing. Your Honor, would like to be heard in mitigation.
All right, is that what you want to do, Mr. Reynolds?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, what is your plea to those allegations?
Guilty.
All right, I'll accept your guilty plea and find you guilty. All right, Mr. Nicholson.
Your Honor, thank you. Mr. Reynolds is 28 years of age, Your Honor. Your Honor, he's not a stranger to this honorable court, as I believe this is his third violation. He's still a young man. While he's young, he's not that young. He's still an adult as well. But Your Honor, I believe my client does suffer from some mental health and substance abuse issues. The court is aware of this. The court has given him a chance, and the court has given him has bent over backwards, quite frankly, for Mr. Reynolds. I spoke with Mr. Reynolds when I received this case, and at the first juncture that I spoke with Mr. Reynolds, he was not all in. He was still going back and forth, telling me what he wanted to do, not trying to listen to the medical professional. So I hung up the phone on Mr. Reynolds because I determined he wasn't ready yet. So I said I would talk to him on the day of court. Got a correspondence from the probation office giving me his position as well. So I had a really good conversation with Mr. Reynolds this morning, and to my knowledge, he spoke with our social worker as well. Once he spoke with us at length, he has determined that he has hit his rock bottom, and at this point, if he does not all in, he's either going to be dead on the front page of the newspaper or in the obituaries, somewhere in the middle, or he's going to be right back in front of you, and he's going to be doing prison. I believe he's at a significant crossroad in his life because I don't think he's completely lost yet. Like I said, he's 28 years old, and right now I can see he's taking responsibility. He wants to get better. And he's been through a lot of, I'm not making excuses for him, but he's been through a lot of pain. Lost both of his parents.
All right, you guys are talking about NCIS, and I have a horrible, hi, Miss Megadeth. I have a horrible confession to make that I felt so guilty about. Okay, so I was a little nervous in my interview, right? So all right, the interview started out as just like a conversation. Me and her were just talking. It was just a conversation. So when she was asking me questions, like when she would first ask me a question, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is an interview. I got to answer this question. But then when I started talking, it was more like just a conversation. But then the conversation would stop and she would ask me this other question. I'm like, oh God, I'm in an interview. I got to answer this right. So I was nervous. And when she asked me how many animals I had, I was like, oh, I'm in an interview. I got to answer this question. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I got my cat Ziva. Okay. It wasn't a lie. It was just I misspoke. I did have a cat, Ziva. Ziva passed away. My cat right now is Gara from Naruto, if anybody's ever seen Naruto. And I've been thinking about that whole time that I lied. I lied during the interview. I didn't try to lie. It was an accident. I was nervous. I got their cat name wrong. So every time you guys talk about NCIS, I feel guilt. Like, oh no, I lied to everybody. Oh, that's funny, Fozzie, because my daughter watched part of the interview and she's like, Mom, you didn't have to tell everybody about the ringworm. I'm like, well, I was just talking. I just was talking. So yeah, my cat's name is Gara. Sorry, Gara, I forgot your name for a bit, but I'm old and senile. Okay. All right. Let's get back to this crazy.
He's been doing. I mean, he's 28 years old. Been doing drugs since he was a juvenile. Um, those aren't excuses, but those are things that contribute to drug addiction. After speaking with the probation officer, I've been notified that there are inpatient treatment options available. In addition to that, I believe he is in mental health court with Judge Trevitz in Mentor Municipal Court, who runs the mental health court. So he's at a crossroads right now. It's either get better, work on yourself, or go to prison. I've told him that there are tens and if not hundreds of people in this jail that want treatment. So either he can go to prison and not waste resources or waste our time, or he can be all in, do it all, do the treatment. I told him, look, if they tell you to go to Iraq, you got to go for treatment. He's all in. He wants to do treatment. So, Your Honor, at this time, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that there's a position from the probation officer that there is treatment available. I would ask the court to consider that option, send him to strict inpatient treatment, and give him one more chance to show the court that he's all in. And if he does not, then obviously, well, first of all, we obviously respect any decision that this court makes because the court has given him chances in the past. So we respect any ruling today. However, we would ask the court to strongly consider treatment, whatever the recommendations for treatment are from the treatment professionals and the professionals of probation office. We'd ask the court to consider those. We would agree to them. We would stipulate to them. Just want to get this young man some help, the help that he needs. He was not all in when this court sentenced him first, but I believe he's all in. He's hit his rock bottom. He's tired of doing drugs, and he knows that with the ingredients in the drugs these days, that next high could be his last. So, Your Honor, we ask the court to take all that in consideration upon imposition of his sentence, and if the court does deem that prison is appropriate, ask the court to give him credit for time served, or not credit for time served, but credit for the days that he served in jail. Thank you.
All right, what do you want to tell me?
Stand up.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, first and foremost. This is another slip up on my end. I would say that this is the longest I've ever been sober, and it's the most clear mind I've ever been since I've been 12 years old. I've been using drugs since I've been 12. I've had a lot of trauma, a lot of heartache. The day I went to jail, my dog died. My 16-year-old dog died, for trespassing. I lost my mom when I was in rehab. I lost my dad 2 days before Christmas. These are all things that contribute to my mental health being as bad as it is now. My mental health's been worse, in these past couple of years than it's ever been. I've got PTSD. I've got serious mental depression, and it contributes to me using. It does. I've tried drug treatment in the past. It's helped me. Like I said, this is the longest I've ever been clean. It's the longest I've ever been doing good in the past 10 years or so. That's all I have to say.
Cindy, when did Jan try to see him?
I would say we were last here on April 9th, so it was probably the following week. She didn't send me a letter, I don't believe.
Okay. So why wouldn't you talk to the lady from NeoCap?
I wanted to talk to the courts first. I wanted to go to court first. It wasn't. She didn't say that it was court mandated or anything like that. So wanted to be open minded about other options that were possibly available.
You told her you didn't want to go to NeoCap. You just wanted to go to prison, right?
Instead of NeoCap, I never heard anything good about NeoCap. So
From who?
from anybody that's been there, my brother and people that have been there in the past, he said he'd rather do prison than NeoCap. So I was taking his advice into consideration because I don't necessarily make good decisions myself. I don't know what I was getting into with something like that.
Why are you taking the advice of somebody who's in jail?
Well, my brother he's on the outside now, but from people that have been in similar situations that I've been in, they found themselves in the same situation after going to NeoCap, and I took their advice and I considered that more
What
so
about
than.
the people that found themselves in a different position after going to NeoCap? Did you talk to them?
Never seen them, never crossed paths with them.
Maybe the problem is not, maybe the problem is who you're crossing paths with, and maybe another problem is who you're not crossing paths with, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So nobody in that goddamn jail knows a thing about what they're talking about. Not a one of them. And so if somebody comes to see you to offer you an opportunity and you tell her, no, I just want to go to prison. Because that surely will make you better and improve you going to prison. You like that meth, huh?
I mean, any kind of substance, that helps take away, my thinking and my anything that takes me away from being who I am, where I feel like I'm not the person that I am, something that makes me feel different. My mom went through the same thing that I'm going through now, and I didn't understand her situation before when she was smoking crack and everything else. When my dad and I were sober, or I was just smoking weed or whatever it may have been, I didn't understand her situation until now. I find myself in a situation that's just as bad or worse than hers, and I understand now why she didn't want to be herself. And the things that she was seeing, the things that she's crossing paths with are different than other people are crossing paths with. I'm not crossing paths with the same people and things that ordinary people are. I'm going through a thing that's like, he brought up like coming to Jesus moment, and that's the truth. These people and things that talk to me, they're talking about things that are like out of this world, outlandish. And it's like I get to a point where normal living isn't normal living to me anymore. I can't go to a place that seemingly works for other people, and it works for me. It just doesn't. It's the people and things I'm crossing paths with.
How do you know it doesn't work for you?
I've tried it.
How do you know something you haven't done won't work for you?
Well, I can't say definitively, but I have.
No, you can't say. You can't even begin to guess. Well, you can. You can say it won't work for you if you don't want it to work for you. And if you go and stare at the wall, then it won't work for you. So you can predict your future in that regard. Where are you going for your mental health treatment?
Signature Health.
Who are you going to?
Julie Shandell.
Who is she?
She's a doctor at Signature Health.
Is she a psychiatrist?
I believe so, yeah.
Who prescribes your medication?
Right now, I'm in the jail. Crossroads does.
Who did its signature?
Julie Shandell.
What did she prescribe?
It started off with, I can't think of that, Seroquel.
All
It
of
started
them.
off with Seroquel, Olanzapine, Remron at one point. I can't think of what else off the top of my head. But we've cycled Lexapro. I've been on Lexapro. Been on Effexor. The most recent changes seem to be helping a little bit more than the past.
How long have you been going to her?
Sorry?
How long have you been going to her?
About 8 months, 9 months.
Okay. What do you know about this, Miss Henley?
Joe's neglecting to mention the most recent medication, which is Risperdal. He was taking 3 milligrams of that medication as well as antidepressant. Was working full time, had a car, and things were going well. So it's when he stopped taking those, made the decision.
Why did you stop taking the medication?
I guess to feel different again. I started feeling.
What does that mean? How were you feeling when you were taking it?
Well, I guess I became complacent. I guess when I started doing good, I started to tear down everything that I worked for, and I started to rebuild and redo everything. It sounds insane in a way, but I started to tear down everything I worked for, and I rebuild all over again. And then I keep going through the cycle. Even when I'm being successful, I go to this madness in my mind all day long when I'm at work. It's hard for me to get up and go to work every day, but I still do it anyways. I'm going through this mental health I'm going through. It's like I hear the voices, this, that, whatever. I'm not trying to make excuses, but it's like I go through this madness where I have to break down everything I'm working for and then redo everything all over again. So the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I sit there and I just stare and I contemplate, how am I going to do this today? And at some point I want to feel different. I can't. It's going to work it'll work, but I don't know for how long.
So, who else do you see at Signature?
I see Olivia Farmer. She's my case manager. I just got set up with psychiatry for like therapy. Um,
You haven't gone to therapy yet?
no, I had
Why
one.
not?
I had one appointment scheduled and I've rescheduled it. Like I said, I was going through the cycle again. I had rescheduled my appointment and then it was for a little bit farther out than I expected because I had missed her. I had to schedule it around my work days because I'd get off work around 5 o'clock, and so I try to schedule it for 5 o'clock in the afternoons, and there's only so many slots available, you know. So that's why I had missed it. It was pretty far out, and then just right around the same time this all happened. But I was going to try and do therapy and see how that would help me. Just maybe talking to somebody and like alleviating some of the stress and things on my shoulders.
Your Honor, he was doing intensive outpatient programming and aftercare prior to going to the counseling. So he has been in services. There was just a small gap in between aftercare and counseling.
So did you have a discussion with your counselor about why things go well and you try to tear it down and start all over again?
I didn't really bring that up too much. When I was in IOP, I was kind of the quiet one. I was kind of listening to other people's stories and trying to see how that relates to me and if they're in a similar situation I'm in before I spoke out and started speaking about things. And a lot of theirs seems to be mostly, and I was in a drug treatment class. It seems most of theirs seems to be kind of like drug related. There's, you know, it seems to be stemming from the drugs a lot of times. That's where the problems, things are coming from a lot of times. It has to do a lot more with my mental health.
All right, so tell me where the meth, where the meth comes from.
My mom, she got me started using it.
Okay. And
We started using it together.
what does that do for you?
It helps numb me. I feel numb. I just feel like I'm not me as much. You know, I just feel like a different person.
And what does that get you?
Well, I start
Besides
writing.
in jail, what does that get you?
I start writing. I start drawing. I start working on things. I kind of like separate myself from like the real world. I separate myself from the real world, and I kind of see like how people and things that react around me, like how they treat me, you know. And even my own girlfriend, she said I was like smeagling. I was doing all these things that I wasn't even doing. I would just be sitting there writing down on my paperwork, and she would say I'm doing all these things to like bother her. I'm doing all these things that are like outlandish. They're like out of this world. Like I never said half the things I said to her. I never did half the things I did to her, and I know I didn't because I've
How
been through
do
this.
you know that?
Because I've been through this for so many years. I've been
Okay.
through it for so many years. I don't
Does-
see it all of a
does
sudden
the-
one day, all of a sudden it's just going to change like that.
Does the meth, does it have a positive effect or a negative effect on you?
There's some pros, but there's a lot of cons.
What are the pros?
I mentioned, you know, being separating myself and like, seeing how people treat me.
Why
and
do you
things.
want to separate yourself from yourself?
Because I don't like being myself. I don't like this body that I am. I don't like being this person that I am. I want to be something different. You know.
What do you want to be?
Somebody that feels good every day. Somebody that enjoys their job, enjoys going to work, enjoys
What
living.
job were you doing?
I was working at MWD. It's like a warehouse. It was driving a forklift. It wasn't bad when I first started there. I really enjoyed it. You know, I was doing something that I actually enjoyed doing. I was just moving stuff around, but at the end of the day, you know, I felt like I was doing good. I was making money. I was help support my girlfriend. We were going out and going to eat. We were doing things that normal people do. You know.
Some reason you didn't like that?
You know, take me by surprise in a way. You know, I thought I had it together for the most part. You know, I finished IOP. I completed IOP, which I didn't think I was going to do. You know, at first, when I first started doing this, I just thought I'd get to a certain point, I could just start using it again. I would just say, forget everything. But I completed IOP. This has been the longest stint that I've ever done. You know, the longest time that I've ever been successful. You know, it's really been a big difference in my life.
How long have you been in jail now?
36 days.
Is your thought process better now than it was 36 days ago?
Yeah, I could tell just by speaking to you how I'm able to communicate a little bit better that it is
Okay,
better.
why is it better now than it was 36 days ago?
Because I was taking options and doing things just without thinking. I would just say, yeah, I'll do that, or yeah, I'll do that, instead of thinking about it more, and instead of, instead of considering the options and things that are available to me.
Like what? What do you mean?
Like, for instance, with the neocap and, Lake Jog, if neocap showed up, I was always a yes man. I would just say, yeah, whatever, But when they showed up, I actually second guessed what, treatment is for me and what's going to help me and what's not going to help me. And even against other people's intuition and because like I said, these are normal people are going through something totally different that I'm going through. And when they brought that up to me, I'm like, me and my brother are kind of alike. My brother holds it together though. He somehow manages to support his family, and he goes to work every day. He does everything that like my dad wanted from us. That's to hold a family together. He does everything that I'm trying to do, but he doesn't suffer the mental health issues that I suffer. The way that my mom suffered. The drugs and the mental health issues. So I try to relate the two, and I take his advice. He said, I'd rather do prison time than neocap. And, honestly, that's one person I look up to. And I don't really have anybody else to look up to.
What do you think the absence of meth in the last 36 days, what effect has that had on you?
I don't really know because I'm in jail. I can't really be on the outside, like where I had to just regiment, where I meet with people, and I do these things over and over again, and seeing the differences that are happening around me. People say I'm doing one thing and I'm doing another, or they say I'm saying one thing and I'm saying another. So I try to meet with these people. I try to do these things over and over again in order to maintain some sanity. Because I feel like I've lost my sanity in some ways. So I do things over and over again.
You told me 20 minutes ago, this is the clearest you've thought
yeah, that's
in a long time.
Yes, Your Honor.
But what you're telling me now is that that's not the case. That people are telling you things that.
Well, that's
that.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
That does raise a point that's important to me. Is I feel like I'm doing better sometimes. When I feel like I'm doing better and I'm seemingly doing better, a lot of times people will tell me that I'm not doing these things. I'm acting a certain kind of way. Like the people that are around me all the time, the people that I'm spending my time with, they make it. They act a certain kind of way. They portray a certain kind of way. But it's like I'm interested in what they're writing down, what they're saying about me, more so than what's actually happening. You know what I mean?
Why?
Because I want to know what it's like from them looking from the outside looking in. Rather than just me looking from the inside out.
You're concerned about what they perceive you as, or what they think
yes, Your
about
Honor.
you? Why do you care about that?
Because I want to know if I'm living in the same reality that they're living in. I question
You're
my
not.
reality. I question what's happening to me, oftentimes.
Yeah.
And how it helps to kind of clear my thoughts, and it helped me just get to a blank slate. It's the methamphetamines. I get to a blank slate, and I'm just blank, just like a zero. It allows me to kind of build off of that.
That and eat your brain away. That's what it does. Methamphetamine.
I don't know. I can't say for everybody, but there's oftentimes Sudafed in it. That's one of the things that helps you from getting sick. You don't really get many.
Is this where are you getting this stuff from?
It's from a person my mom connected me with, from a long time ago, and I trusted my mom's instincts because she knew everybody when it came. She knew just about everybody, and so I trusted her more so than just anybody off the street. I've always went to the same person, always the same people.
So who are you getting it from?
Well, I don't want to say exactly who I got it from in the past.
Well, see, I want to know exactly who you're getting it from.
Well, I've got, when I came here originally the first time, when I was pretty bad off, I got it from Dustin, and that's on him in a way. Saw me certain things that ain't necessarily the best, but that's my problem. That's my fault.
Where's Dustin getting it from?
Probably from Cleveland, probably from the land.
Where are they getting it from?
It's either somebody that's making it out of a bucket and whatever, or maybe my neighbor.
Does it taste like Drano at all when you're having it?
No,
No.
no.
You know what's in meth that people make?
What?
Drano.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I trust what my mom, has hooked me up with, and I've always
Fozzie nailed it. Snitches get stitches.
just kind of went with that. I don't really like go out of bounds too much. The people that I meet, like I said,
Do you talk to the psychiatrist about using meth while you're taking your mental health meds?
I kind of like left that part out a lot of times. I was
Why?
too nervous. 'Cause
Don't you think that's important?
I didn't know how that was going to affect, things with. I mean, I told my psychiatrist. I told Julie Shandell. I mentioned it to her and whatnot. But in therapy, I've never really had a
What
chance
are you going to therapy for?
for my mental health and for.
I know that, but what is it? What is it you're trying to uncover, get past, deal with? What is that?
Somebody I'd like to be able to speak to about trauma, speak to about how do I go about like moving forward in life. How do I maintain my sanity? And somebody that I can
What's the trauma?
lose my family.
What specifically?
My dad, he died 2 days before Christmas. I had to watch him while I was in the hospital. I watched my father deteriorate because he had cancer.
Okay. How long ago was that?
2018, 12/23/18.
What's your mental health diagnosis?
Schizophrenia, manic depressive disorder, bipolar or something.
Okay.
And then
How long have you been diagnosed with those things?
when I was like 6, 7 years old, I got diagnosed with ADHD and depression and a couple other things.
So this predates your father's passing, right?
Yeah, and it's amplified things for me when I lost him.
That generally happens.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question is how you deal with that, right?
How I move forward, not having somebody to
Right.
to work and do things, and that has that to show forth, as like a way of.
So it sounds like you want to figure out how to deal with it, how to move forward, and at the same time, it sounds like you don't want to deal with it. You just want to become somebody else, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It can't be both ways. It's impossible to be both ways. So the question is, which way are you going to take? Is this the third time you've had a violation here?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So that's not working very well, right?
It's working better than it's working better than I've ever had in the past. I would say that much. It's.
Okay, now everybody just imagine you are his lawyer right now. His lawyer tries in vain to help him at the end, but it's way too late.
Like I said, since I've been 12 years, since I was 12 years old, I've been using.
Too late, buddy. Sorry. He told him, he says, you got to say how much better you are now that you're not on meth. You got to tell the judge how much better everything is. And it's too late for that. This is the longest I've ever been sober.
All right, Mr. Nicholson, what am I supposed to do with this guy?
Your Honor, I think through the exchange that you just had with Mr. Reynolds, let me sum it up for you.
I just need to know what to do with it.
It ain't working.
Because despite the fact that Mr. Reynolds thinks that he's doing as well as he's done since he was 12 years old. He ain't, or he wouldn't be here for the third time around. So he's listening to the idiot brigade in the jail who are telling him not to go somewhere that may be good for him. Is there somewhere else he could go that you're aware of?
Your Honor, there is, I've been notified of NeoCap.
You don't want to go.
I know, I've been notified of them, Lake Geauga, and excuse me for pulling out my phone, Your Honor. I have an email from our social worker in our public defender's office as early as 10:40 this morning, right before I came over to this honorable court for this hearing. There was a submission of an application to the Everett Clinic, the CH Everett Clinic. It's a mental health residential treatment through Signature Health for adults, and it's located in Mentor. The typical length is 30 to 90 days. When a referral is completed and staff determine eligibility, they meet with the client in person to determine the next steps for admissions or treatment. So, Your Honor, at this point, look.
Well, what's the timeline on something like that?
Well, my understanding is that his application is under review. So they have to, I would say at least 30 days, at least. So because they got to review his application, they got.
I mean, it shouldn't take a whole lot to review since he's one of their patients, right?
Right. But I would say at least 30 because they got to come here, they got to talk. He doesn't have the access to them that he would have had he been out. So they got to come in here, they got to visit him, they got to talk to him, they got to take that information, take it back, do an assessment, and then determine eligibility and all.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come back here on the 29th of May, continue this hearing until the 29th of May at 11:30. And if you get word from this place in advance of that, then we can come in earlier, but I'm at a loss to what to do with him.
I understand, Judge.
Other than send him to prison for 18 months, which I guess in that case, you can get all the meth you want sitting in prison. So the question is whether you want to figure out what it takes to get better or whether you want to keep
Please get down.
being better for short periods of time in jail. So 29th at 11:30 at this point.
Gara, please stop.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sorry. I made it. I made it the whole way to the end before I started talking to my cats. Wow. That whole time it was a hot mic. That whole time. I ate 2 snacky snacks. You heard that. But I didn't yell at my cats or my kids or anything. I was sweating. That was very, very stressful. I should have turned the video off because who knows. Ooh. So that guy, I mean, you got a glimpse of how like someone like he has schizophrenia and paranoia. You got a glimpse into how they think, and I don't understand it, but I can almost understand it. Like if you're constantly worried about things like that, and then you do meth, and then you don't worry about it because it's a blank slate. He says he doesn't. He's a different person. He doesn't think about all that stuff. It would be sort of a relief, but he needs professional help, not just drug help. That's not going to help him. He needs professional help, and it sounds like he's trying. He's on all those medications, but he stops taking them. I think he's going to jail. I think that he's not going to be able to get the help he needs. I don't think he knows what he needs, so he's not going to get the help that he needs. Right, exactly, Carolyn. Relief from a tortured mind, but it doesn't actually help. Yep. What I thought was really interesting was he sat there and he said, my girlfriend and that says that I do things and say these weird things that I know I never actually do. Yeah, he does that. He does do it and doesn't even realize that he does it. And he says he annoys her. Yeah, I bet. How do you pay for meth in prison? The answer is I'd rather not say. Oh man. All right, so now we're going to the child support. So if you don't like child support cases, go ahead and dip now. This is it. Um, we don't really. I mean, it's it is a child support case, but that's not why I recorded it. I recorded it because these parents are crazy. They just can't listen, and it just made me scream at the screen. But this lawyer, okay, the judge, you guys are going to get mad at the judge. I already know you're going to get mad at the judge because she doesn't have control of her courtroom and blah, 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 blah. She does, I said this yesterday, I'm just reminding you again. She does custody, she does divorce, um, and things like that all day, every day. People who come into her courtroom are are extremely emotional. I mean, really emotional. So she doesn't just throw everybody in contempt of court and put them in jail. She just steady on, tries to refocus them. Guys, I don't do that. I'm a lady. I'm a lady, even when I'm alone. I'm a lady. Oh, sorry. All right, here we go.
And gonna call this matter. Good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon.
And
May-
Madam Clerk, would you
Mr.
swear? Yeah, we're gonna have both parties sworn in. Give me one second. Oh, father has been all right. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter not pending before the court? I do. All right. The issues that I have for the trial today in your case is custody credits for 2023, as well as mother's income for support, whether the court should consider either an imputation or seek work orders for child support. Now, the period of time for custody credits that was disputed at the last hearing is January 2023 through October 2023, correct? I'm not sure if you heard me explaining the other case, but I'm going to just tell you a little bit of the explanation of the difference between credits and modification and the law that applies to either of those two scenarios. For custody credits, the case law that applies to a court's determination of when child support should be set to zero is when the party paying or under orders to pay child support has physical custody of the minor child for 100% full-time or as close to full-time as possible. And where the court finds then that there's an element of the party then being ordered to pay for a child that they're already taking care of, that's in their care. And therefore, that child support in those situations should be modified because it's unjust to have a party ordered to pay support while they're already bearing the needs of the minor child. That's what.
Real quick, like I said yesterday, I warned you yesterday, she cuts the feed before the verdict. But we are pretty sure we know what the verdict is from what she says.
With them full-time. For the custody credits part, the court can go back to a time period when that is noticed by the parties if a valid child support order was in place. Now, the difference between custody credits and modification is if one of the parent has had some visitation time, and typically I'll say it's at least a little bit more, continuing, and if it's 10% at least or more, then that changes the equation from custody credits to modification. For child support modification, there has to be a noticed hearing for which the court can say that is the applicable period of time from which support should change. Now, in the second period, right, for modification, if the court finds that the custody that one of the parents has had of the child is significant, even if it is a modification, the court has discretion to consider deviation. And so if in that example, the child support order is burdensome, or it is going to deprive then that parent of adequately caring for the child that they have so much time of, then that is a basis for what the court can consider as a deviation. That's the outlying laws that apply and the issues that we're here for today. Okay? Do either of you have witnesses?
Yes, I have my daughter here.
All right. And tell me how old Sophia is?
Sophia is.
Sophia, I'm sorry.
She's 16.
Okay. And then do you have witnesses?
I do.
Who are your witnesses?
My mother, who resided in the home with myself and my daughter.
All right. So are we talking about the same time period then, January 1 through October 2023?
Yes.
All right. Let me get each party's position regarding that time period. And you are asking for mother to pay support, correct?
Yes,
Where's Sophia now?
in the hallway.
But she's with you full-time
Yes,
since?
ma'am.
And so you agree that Sophia's been with dad since October?
Yes, my daughter will.
October or November?
No, she wasn't with him in October or November. When the court order happened, she didn't physically go until January 7th with Mr. Bowers. She was still residing in Sacramento and still attending school in Sacramento.
So from January, she's been with father full-time. That's your position.
Correct.
And what county are you in?
I'm in Oakland. I'm in Alameda County.
Alameda County? Okay. So your position is that Sophia's been with you in Sacramento County through December 2023.
Well, she was with me around October. She was back and forth with his parents, and then she came home maybe once or twice, and then she's been with them since.
So when you said
My
she
daughter
went,
was running away.
when,
and-
when you said she went to school here in Sacramento, what periods of time did she go to school?
What do you mean what period of time?
Between October and January, October 23 and January 2024,
She didn't leave that school until December.
but was she attending school even though?
She was attending school, and then she transferred. He was supposed to find her a new school in his county. And so what he did was just call the school and have them transferred to the location near his home.
All right. And the parties have been in court also, correct? You've had custody orders also addressing some of the schooling and change of custody, correct?
Well, what she's saying is not totally true. So my daughter has been with me or my parents since January of 2023, when Ms. Goncalves wrote me a text message and I submitted it to DCSS when it actually happened. It's January 30th. She told me,
January 30th, 2023?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
She told me that she could no longer take care of my daughter and that it was time for me to step up. I texted her back and I obliged to that. I asked her that I needed time to find an adequate school for her and that she could continue to go to school. Where she was at was the Met out here in Sacramento, and my parents would facilitate the dropping off and picking up. But I also was paying,
Hold on just a sec. Don't interrupt, please.
I was paying support to my parents to, facilitate rides and stuff like that, and for groceries, and I was coming out here every weekend. I communicated with DCSS at every step of the position of that, and I also brought a letter from the school stating that my daughter was not in her mother's care any longer. The principal wrote a letter. I submitted that to DCSS as well. And also have the proof of my daughter being here. If my mother was here, she'd be able to attest, but she's at the dentist right now, but my daughter's here and she's willing to testify that as well.
Okay.
I,
So hold on just a sec. Okay, one sec. Let me summarize father's position and I'll turn to you.
okay.
All right. So we've
Time to start taking shots for every time she says, hold on, just a sec.
identified the period of time at dispute, correct? And basically you're saying, ma'am, that it's the whole year of 2023 where you dispute that Sophia's been with father full-time. Father saying
Right.
she's been with him full-time. You're saying no.
That is.
So let me break down the periods of time then that I want, because we're looking at a potential school year. So Sophia's potentially in school January through May or June of 2023. Then she's off for the summer. Then she goes back to school in the fall, correct?
Correct.
So tell me your position now with reference to those time periods that I'm looking at for 2023 and in response to father's testimony.
So let me just go back because there's so much to unpack. So the text message that Mr. Bowers is referring to, my daughter and I had a disagreement. And as practice, me always trying to include Mr. Bowers as the alternative parent to support with parenting whenever possible. I wouldn't receive that support, but I was always reaching out because I just needed help with that. So the text message that Mr. Bowers was referring to, I was frustrated with having a disagreement with my daughter. And I said, at this point, I'm frustrated. She clearly just wants to go stay with you. I don't know what to do. We had a phone call conversation. I said, can I call you? He says, yes. I called him and I was telling him what the issue was at hand. I was having a discussion with my daughter. She was FaceTiming a boy. And I saw that as being disrespectful because I asked her to end her phone call. She didn't listen. And so I reached out to him. So during this conversation, he says, I have enough on my plate. I don't know what you want me to do. And I said, I'm just looking for support here. He says, I have to get up early for work the next morning. In the morning, we'll talk later. That was the end of that conversation. That conversation was never then again visited. So my daughter and I remained, living together. And then
This
there
is
was
when, January or February?
this was in October where he's referring to the text
2023.
message.
So I thought that text message was January.
Here it is right here. I have-
Whenever it
I
was.
have a-
So hold on, you're testifying, I will come to you.
Okay, so
So,
January.
January, right? Because I want to establish a timeline.
So it
We
was the
talked
end
about
of
that.
January.
Okay,
So when we had the disagreement, and so at that time, my daughter and I, didn't see eye to eye at the end of the night. And so I said, and the whole argument was I allowed her to go with her father's parents to help them move. And she had to be back by a certain time. So that was the basis of our argument. So
right.
that
So
night,
let me kind of
So-
ask you this in summary.
so
So you're saying that the argument that you had with your daughter resolved in your daughter continuing to live with you
She
in
reside-
February?
yes, so she resided with me, but that evening, again, let me go back to that evening where I sent the text message. The end result of that evening to find a common ground was to allow my daughter to stay the night with his parents. So that's not out of the norm because instead of Mr. Bowers being involved with his child, his parents kind of fill in the gap where Mr. Bowers lacks in his parenting time. So I allowed her to go over there.
Just so you guys can stop worrying about it, you don't have to pick sides here because they are both of them are wrong. Just both of them are wrong.
Till the next day. I think I want to say she spent the evening there that evening, and then the next day they picked her up, and then I retrieved her back from the school. They retrieved her from the school, and then I picked her up from his parents' house and brought her back home. And then shortly after in February, we're going to fast forward in February, I had a death in the family. And I asked my daughter if she wanted to, that she was going to attend. She didn't want to. She wanted to do something with her friends. I went to the funeral. I still had my mother pick her up because the funeral was out of town and brought her back home. So all that to say is the text message that I sent Mr. Bowers was me in frustration of not getting the support, but never in that text message do we say she's going to live with you. I said, clearly she wants to, but we never concluded that. We never concluded it and we never spoke of it again. My mother can testify to that.
Okay,
My
just a
mother
second,
lives
let me
in the
pause
home
there.
with myself and my
There's
daughter.
no dispute that you sent father a text message. He has the copy of the text message. Is there an objection for the court to view it?
Well, because he keeps referring to the text message as that being the date that my daughter went to
Well-
reside with him, which is erroneous information.
Without
asking
having,
me-
hold on just a sec, okay? Just a sec. Let me conduct the hearing and I have you both address only me and not each other. The question that I have is there an objection to the court looking at that text message?
There's no objection, but I wanted to give context to it because he keeps parading it around as if this was the
It's going to
definitive
be an
time.
exhibit. The parties are here for trial. There are
Correct.
rules. So I'm going to ask you questions first and then look at it. Deputy Phillips, can I look at that text message, please?
And I've also submitted these text messages the last time we were here in full context, so you had the full thread.
Okay, let me ask you some questions after I review that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Darkest Night just said, lady, listen to the judge, please. Okay, get ready to say that over and over and over and over and over again.
Nowhere in there will you see a conversation where I say,
Just a second, please.
They're so quiet. It's so nice.
Ms. Kelsey, what was the child support order for 2023? Was it consistent for all of 2023?
Let me look here. So let me just see when it was. Yeah, so father's order was 385.
For
And then it was,
father to pay?
yes, but it was modified to 0 effective January 1st, 2024 at the last hearing. So it was consistent 385.
For all of 2023?
Yes.
And then in February, was it the 244 for mother to pay?
Yes, mother is 244 effective January 1st, 2024. And that's based on unemployment.
which I'm asking for modification.
Okay, hold on, we're not there yet, okay? Just give me a second. So all of 2023 father paid, and then father's obligation is set to 0 from January.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so the issue is it's a dispute of fact, obviously, and that's why you're here for a trial, right? It sounds to me like there is a basis for January's order for you to pay 385 to be in place, because most of the conversations then start January 30th and potential changes from February 1 onwards through the end of December, correct, sir?
Well, what I'm trying to say is, after that day, my daughter has not stayed with her mom at all. She hasn't seen her mom, and my daughter can attest to that as well.
And I will, I'm going to get there, but I just want to identify the periods of time, establish each party's testimony as to what the testimony is before I call witnesses. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So earlier I had stated that the period of time was January 2023, including that, but it doesn't look like I'm including that because this conversation that you've referenced happened January 30th, correct?
2023.
Right. So February 1, 2023
Yeah.
is what I'm starting to look
I
at then.
understand.
All right? Okay. All right. So then let me ask you this, ma'am. Father's position is that from February 1, 2023, and for the rest of the year, even though Sophia may have been in Sacramento, that you have not had parenting, that his parents have kind of supported that responsibility, and he has then filled in availability for weekends and holidays and for most of the summer. What's your response?
That's incorrect.
And how can you, what evidence do you have to support that?
My mother has the evidence, and I also have the school records here. Show
School records is not the issue, right? Because we're not disputing whether or not she went to school in Sacramento. We're disputing where she kind of put her head at night to sleep. We're
She
disputing how much money you may have spent to
Correct.
care for her and who actually supported her from February 1 through December.
So I supported her myself, other than the child support check that she, she would receive, but I supported her myself. I allowed my daughter to kind of decide what week she wanted to be with his parents. And
So when you say you supported her yourself, what evidence do you have? Do you have bills for food, for clothes, for expenses for her from February 1?
like I said, I'm so used to being her sole provider. I don't keep my receipts. Every clothing item, and my mother is here, can contest to it. I've purchased for Sophia, her clothes, her shoes, any supplies that she needed for school. I
Who's paying for her
supported.
food every day?
I paid for her food.
And how do you pay for her food?
I paid for her food when she was in my care. When
Right,
she
was
would
that on
call
a
me.
card? Was it cash? Was it
Cash.
school?
Cash. There were days where Sophia would call me from school and say, Mom, I'm hungry. Can you come up here and bring me something to eat? She knew my schedule. I would bring her food. I would bring her money. There was times where, and here's the other issue is that when my daughter was in the care of Mr. Bowers and his family, they disallowed her or encouraged her not to reach out to me in front of them. It was a lot of bad mouthing. So when he says that my child is here, and this is why I feel some kind of way about it, even now they've changed her telephone number where I can't contact her now.
Okay, just a second, okay? So I'm trying to get to what I need to get to. And what kind of evidence do you have apart from your mother's testimony to support that Sophia's been with you February through December?
Like you said, I have the school record showing that she was enrolled in school in Sacramento.
We're not disputing that, right? Are you disputing that she went to school February through December
Absolutely
in
not.
Sacramento?
Matter of
Okay.
fact,
So how would he
as a matter
support
of
her?
fact, I actually have proof that my daughter was with my parents because my daughter had a summertime job. Her W-2 was sent to the address in which she resided at. and
That
that's
means
right here.
nothing.
Just a second, okay? I'm going to, again, caution both of you to not interrupt each other. I'm giving you both time. We have time on the calendar. There's no need to interrupt each other, all right? So you also stated earlier, sir, that you had a principal's letter.
Yes,
What are you
I submitted
referring
that to DCSS.
What are you referring to? Tell me about that, what that
Because-
says.
Because Ms. Goncalves, this is how I know that this is all false.
Tell me about the letter. When was that dated? Who sent it?
That was
How did
false.
you get it?
Well, I went to the school to get it because I went to the school to pick up my daughter and she had a restraining order put against me.
When was, what
This
period
was
of
in-
time?
This is right after the letter was sent in February.
Okay, so
There's
the
a
letter's from
police-
February.
There's a
Okay.
police report as well. And I went up to the school to pick up my daughter. She filed a phony restraining order against me and I was escorted off the
Incorrect.
premises. I had to then go and show that that restraining order that she went and brought was from, I want to say 2017, 2018. So it was false. And I had to show them proof that I was eligible to be there and stuff like that.
Okay, so the letter that you're talking about is it a physical letter, like a hard copy letter?
Yes, but I
Written by
don't,
the
I
school?
don't have it, but I gave it to.
Let me ask, Ms. Galsey, do you have that?
Yes, we do. It's
What's the
dated
date?
May 5th, 2023, but it mentions February 2023. in the
Okay, and who is it signed off by?
Denise Lambert, Met Sacramento High School principal.
Who is no longer the principal.
Just a second, ma'am. 1 sec, okay? Do you have a copy of that letter, ma'am?
I never received a copy of this letter when I addressed the school for writing that erroneous letter because they know I was the guardian. I was there every day, every week. I was super involved in my child's schooling. The kind of school that I had her in is an arts institute, so she always had to do presentations. I was always there. So
you're saying
when
you
I
don't know
addressed
about
the
the letter?
principal, I didn't know about the letter. When I addressed the letter, because I found out through DCSS or whatever to child support, when I went to the school to address, that principal had retired and had moved on to work somewhere else in Department of Education. So she was no longer there. Her secretary at the time stated that the father kept calling, harassing the school. So the principal wrote it
All
in
right, we can
duress.
stop it over there because we're all going into hearsay territory. All right, so I think the child might be the best person to.
I would
Wait,
say,
hold on, I'm not done speaking yet. All right. I think that the child is the best person to provide direct evidence because she obviously knows where she was. What I'm trying to determine then is whether it is going to be in this child's best interest to testify in what I see as very conflicting opinions around custody and care of this child, and or whether the court experience is going to traumatize this child. And I obviously don't want to add to that. So How old is Sophia now?
She's 16. She'll be
She'll be
17 in August.
And already traumatized. Don't worry, Judge.
August
And then
4th.
she was 15 during most of 2023, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The
What is your objection if you object to Sophia
The
being called?
objection that I have is that since Sophia's been in the care of Mr. Bowers and his family, that she has been discouraged to have a relationship with me and to, so to say, from Sophia's words to me, pick sides. I've not wanted her to pick sides, so I have kind of just fell back with anything that has to do with them. And so
Okay, before I go there, my question to you is February through December, how many nights has Sophia stayed overnights where you or your mother have taken her to school?
this year or
Each
23?
month, February through December 2023.
2023, Sophia rode the school bus. I would take her to school in the
Where was she overnight?
She stayed at home with me. I took her to
What's the
school in the
schedule?
morning.
Was she every night with you and she went to grandpa on the weekend? What's the
With
schedule?
Sophia, I allowed her, so from usually from Friday to Sunday, she would spend time with his mother. So that's who had her. So, and it was easier for us to transition because Mr. Bowers would complain about having to drive to Sacramento. He didn't have a problem going to see his
Okay,
parents.
stay on point.
So
My
that's
question
how
again
that would
is
work.
Friday to Sunday, she saw grandpa.
Correct.
Monday through Friday, she was with
And
you?
sometimes during the week. So say in the middle of the week, Wednesday through Sunday, she'd be over at his parents' house.
Okay.
So it depended on Sophia. We never had an issue that way before, and his parents and I had a rapport. So
Did either
I
of
wasn't
you,
logging.
got it, either if you changed the child's address at school in Sacramento for the purpose of her residence for 2023?
Yes.
And when was
No,
that?
she-
Hold on just a sec, okay? When was that?
That was immediately. That was in February. Soon as.
So you changed the address on record?
Yes.
And
So-
you called the school? I'll give you a turn, okay?
Yes. Yes. That's why that
So in
letter.
February, you
That's why
called
the
and
letter-
changed the school to your parents' address?
Yes, ma'am.
But that was then false because at that time I had sole custody and I didn't even know that that information had changed, and nor was I called. So that was a issue. That was a report that I filed against the school because I wasn't notified of that.
Did you go back and modify the child's address for school purposes between February and December
I was
2023?
never alarmed of the address changing until we recently had an issue at the school. At that time, it was just more so about custody and her, running away and whatnot. But I did get a printout from the school showing that she was still in Sacramento, but I never received anything showing that the address was changed.
So when did
She
you
was-
find out about the address change?
When I found out about the address change wasn't until I would say recent. So probably at the beginning of this year, I found out about the address change, but at that time we were already going through custody, a custody battle, I guess.
So when was
But
the
are-
restraining order filed?
The restraining order was filed
I'm
months
asking
prior.
Father,
It was a
can you answer?
5-year restraining order.
They're both.
Was there
restrained-
one 2023?
It was just. one.
Yes, she tried to file another one, where she had an address that wasn't mine, because I don't live in Sacramento. This is the second time, this would be the second time that she had somebody falsify that they were me in order to serve me with the restraining order. I got wind of the restraining order this time and was able to go to court to fight that. The first time I didn't know nothing about it, and that's why I was escorted off the school property.
So it was filed by you, mother, March 29, 2023, correct?
Correct. No,
Yes,
the restraining order is, so what happened was there was already a 5-year
It's a
restraining.
yes or no.
There is more
So you're saying
complexity
you
to
cannot
it.
say that you filed a restraining? order?
Yes, but I filed the
That's-
restraining order based off
Ma'am,
of, it was a
just a second,
child,
just-
listen, it wasn't a restraining order, it was a custody
Okay,
document that
I'm
was
going to
tied.
admonish you both again, especially you now, and I will make a finding for the record that you are not being responsive to the court's questioning. Right now, I understand that you're both very emotional,
There's com-
but I need to, again, you're in trial. There are procedures. I need to get specific facts in order for the court to make a finding.
That is what
You
I'm,
both know what the issues are on calendar for today. The expectation is that you're prepared to proceed. I'm still determining what witnesses to call, if any. And I'm trying to see what other information I can establish as facts before having to call witnesses. So all of this right now is still very procedural for me to be able to establish some facts that are undisputed, because I can take judicial notice of a filing. I can take judicial notice of a determination that your restraining order was denied in July, correct?
Well, I want to just clarify that I didn't file a new restraining order. It was because it was attached to child custody, the courts asked me to refer to the original restraining order docket, which was a FL number, the same number as a continuance. So I didn't personally file.
I'm looking at a restraining order that was filed March 29th, for which the court conducted a trial on July 27th and denied your request for a restraining order.
Yes, but it was to continue the restraining order that was in place. So I don't know if that's considered a new one or just extending the existing one. So that's why I said yes or no.
I'm looking to see if this was filed as a renewal or not. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Had a legal aid assist me.
It's
So
just
that's,
like, okay, please don't talk. I will turn to you both as soon as I'm done with my review. Give me 1 second. This was a 110. It was not filed as a renewal. It was filed as a restraining order.
okay. But it was the same case number as
It's
the
actually
one
filed
prior.
March 15th. I'm sorry, not March 29th.
Okay, well, that's to my misunderstanding, because from my understanding from the free legal aid help here, it was told to me to include the same case file number as prior, that it would continue because it was ending, if whether or not it was going to be picked up and continued because the custody was attached to that restraining order.
Give me a second, okay? Sir, I will give you a chance. Give me 1 minute.
No problem.
Which should have been granted.
Taser.
All right. What's your question?
Well, what I was gonna say is, I know it's a new one because the allegations that she had against me are all new ones, not the same ones from the first restraining order.
They're-
Also, I had to prove that, because there's never a police report attached to any of the findings that she was saying that I was doing, unless I have a teleporter or some type of machine that can zap me from Oakland to Sacramento. It's impossible for me to do anything to this woman, especially because I was at work.
I'm going to say,
Every time
Give
she
me 1
said,
second, okay? Your restraining order request, I'm looking at the TV 105, all of which was filed under penalty of perjury. Who helped you write this? Did you write it in your handwriting or somebody filled it out for you?
I wrote it, but I was here consulting a legal aid.
This is your handwriting?
Correct.
All right.
Which
Page
they
2 of DB 105.
I talk about the original incidents that transpired as well as
Just
new
like-
incidents that happened.
Abuser, other parent does not follow current order and rarely visits child.
Yes.
And although he has kidnapped or taken child, he has dropped her off to his parents in Sacramento.
Yeah.
While he resides in Oakland.
Yes.
That's what you stated.
Yeah.
And this was in March.
Yep. And I had to go through a lot, and there are police reports there because the police had to go to his parents' house to retrieve my child back and bring her home, which my mother is here to attest for that as well.
Retrieved and brought home.
March. So this happened February. I brought her back home. Mr. Bowers had his father, unbeknownst to myself, pick her up from my home. I had to involve Sacramento Sheriff's Department to go and retrieve her back. It's been an ongoing situation. So which is why I ended up just relinquishing my custody, which I didn't have to do because I want my child. But I asked my child what she wanted to do and what she felt like was best for herself. She said she wanted to finally have a close relationship with her father. So I went ahead and allowed her to reside with her father. And I
Now,
was tired of all the
if
back
there's
and
a
forth.
And I finished, I'll turn to you.
okay.
I mean, putting my child in the middle, which is what he continues to do, which is heartbreaking. I don't want her to be in the middle. I want her to be have a relationship with both of her parents, which is why I went above and beyond to contact him every time there was an issue with my child. I want him to be, I
Tears.
want her to have both of her parents.
All right, let me turn it over. All right.
Here's where the conflicting issue is. Either I kidnapped her or she ran away or there was a restraining order. Every time there was a police report with that, the police went to my parents' house, conducted an interview with my child and and my child told the police where she wanted to be at, what was going on with the situation, and they never took her from my parents' house.
At the
That's-
coercion of,
Please, ma'am.
You just said that she left.
Hey, hold
but
on,
the-
both of you, please.
She just said that she left, correct, but that she never did leave. So the reason why my daughter doesn't
I
want to
said it was
be
back
or
and
have a
forth.
relationship with her mom is because she has delusions of grandeur. Obviously, she cannot keep anything. None of her story adds up. That's why you keep having to go through there and there's conflicts and the reason why she doesn't want my daughter to testify is because yes, my daughter will blow the lid off of everything that's being said by
no,
her.
the only issue is that my daughter is heavily manipulated by Mr. Bowers and his parents.
All right, I'm gonna ask both parties to stop their testimony. I'm reviewing the mediation report, which occurred in September.
And there's also a mediation from the first time that she had a restraining order
Let
for
me
me.
look and see. Give me
And
one second.
the mediator will tell you that her statements are disingenuous and
Just a sec, sir, 1 second. So the September 26th report states child is temporarily residing with the grandparents, and the parties agreed for the child to go to school in Oakland as soon as possible, which the court then adopted in the orders, right?
Yes, because that was us coming to a conclusion, but then after that, my daughter had a falling out with her grandparents, so then she's back at home, and then she's back over, you get what I'm saying? There was a lot of back and forth, because I never wanted my child to choose between that side of the family and my side of the family. I just, Sophia is a teenager, she's at an age where she can make a decision with, you know what I mean, with having a conversation, so she decided she wanted to come back home because she felt like she had to do a lot of chores over there that weren't up to her that weren't her responsibility. So she said, and then she'd be back home, and then 1 week she'd be back over there. It was a lot of back and forth, which is why in conclusion, I asked my daughter where she wanted to be and what she thought was best for her development. That's why I went ahead and signed over custody, my physical custody, to Mr. Bowers. I mean, I've had her this whole time. He could at least, give it his best go the last 2 years.
I said that in the letter as well, in the text messages. I said, you did a phenomenal job, ma'am, and I'm willing to take over. I'm sure.
All
you
right,
read
let me
that.
ask you both what other evidence you have. We talked about witnesses. What other evidence do you have?
Oh, I
I have a
have,
notarized letter
And what's the notarized letter? What's it
from her other sibling, which you have the first notarized letter on file that she wrote the courts. I do have another letter.
And served your father?
no,
I have a copy. I made him a copy.
And when you say you have it, did you file it earlier?
I just got it yesterday.
So how would the court have it? Did you provide it to DCSS?
I just got it yesterday.
Okay, so the court doesn't have it then?
No.
And so this is a step sibling? What's the relationship?
This is my other child from me. I don't do steps. They both come from me. So it's her
This is-
sister she
okay,
grew up with.
Okay, all right. And how old is,
She's 23. She'll be 24 at the end of July.
and what is her name?
Her name is Symphony.
may I say that Symphony hasn't lived with my
Okay, hold
daughter.
on just a sec, sir.
And
So Symphony's written a letter,
Correct.
and is Symphony available for testimony or no?
Yeah, you can give her a call. She's at work. She said
Oh, she's not here in court?
No, she lives in LA.
Okay, got it. And you've not had a chance to see that letter? All right, so go
No.
ahead and give father a copy. All right, and what other evidence do you have, ma'am, before I turn it over to father?
Oh, I have a copy for you as well.
Okay, I'm gonna determine whether I'm gonna look at that. What other evidence do you have?
My witness.
Okay, grandma, and then that letter.
Correct.
And that's all of the evidence?
That's all the evidence I
All right,
have
what evidence do you
today.
have?
until I
no, this letter is not notarized by anyone.
Okay, just a second.
I do have my daughter's
It's
uh,
notarized.
report card. I also have
What would the report card show? What are you trying to bring in the report card?
have the
This-
report
my
card,
daughter
please.
is thriving now that she stays with me. She's not, her grades were very subpar because she never received any help from her mother.
That's not
She didn't
true.
have time to help.
You don't
And
know
what,
with me.
hold on,
I also,
how many times do I need to repeat the procedural rules over here? Like, because
I'm speaking to you. I'm not.
I understand that. And so I'm directing it towards you. How many times do I need to tell you to not interrupt?
I just stated that's incorrect, but so I'm
And can you
done.
wait your turn? Do you need a pen and
Absolutely.
paper to write down your position?
I'm good.
So you can tell me after it's your turn, after he's done, as to why you disagree? All right, thank you.
I also have the W-2, like I said, where my daughter was going to work out here in Sacramento over the summer. And it has my parents' address because that's where she was residing at, because it was in conjunction with the school as well.
What
So,
were the work periods?
her work period was from May to just until December, until she started school with me. She was working with kids after school. And she should know that because she didn't take her at all, or nor did she have any custody or rights with her at this moment or at this time when where she was
All
going
right.
to school.
Here's what I'm inclined to do. Ms. Galsey, this applies to DCSS as well.
Okay.
What I'm inclined to do is to have the minor come in and testify. I'm going to go off of live stream because I'm not going to live stream testimony of a minor. The rules for the minor's testimony are very straightforward. I will have the minor sit in the middle at the back where you can hear her, but neither of you can see her, okay? Neither of you are allowed to interrupt the court's questions or the minor's answers. You can write your notes. You can certainly ask for me to ask the minor questions that you want to ask, but I will direct the minor to not answer any direct questions that are not addressed to the court and approved by the court first. Do you both understand the rules? Do you have any questions starting
Just
with
need a
you?
pen, please, if I
Okay,
may.
and do you understand the rules?
I do.
So any interruption or any not following of the rules is
I
not
have a
going
pen.
to result in a finding that's favorable to you both. Do you understand that?
Yes, I would like to just make a comment or testimony based on the W-2 form.
Yeah.
I am aware she is in school, which is why I enrolled her in the Met, because it would give her work credit as well as college credit. So yes, I am aware that she was working, and I am aware everywhere she worked at. Whether or not she gave the W-2 to her grandparents' house or not, that wouldn't justify she was staying there or not. You get what I'm saying? Because it's not unusual for her to have rode the bus on some days to her grandparents' house. So I just wanted to
How
state
far
that.
apart is your home from father's parents' home?
Father, they live not too far from here, and the school from my house to the school is about 8 minutes away.
And from his parents' house to the school?
I would say about 45 minutes to an hour on the bus. And if they pick her up, it's about 25 to 30 minutes away. She goes to school downtown, where she was going to school downtown.
Okay, when she was in Sacramento.
Yes, and I live in the
It's the
pocket
same school,
area.
The school didn't change.
The school didn't change.
Got it. All right. So do you both understand then what I'm going to do?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And then you both, I'm not going to have her face you both because I think that might be difficult for her to kind of look at you while testifying. At the same time, according to the rules of court, I cannot deprive you both of listening to what she has to say in front of the court, right? So you both have the right to certainly ask her questions. I'm not depriving that right for you both. However, I'll say that it has to be done in as organized a manner possible so that we're doing a couple of things. We're reducing conflict in the minor's presence. We're ensuring that both of you as parents have the right to ask questions that you may need for clarification and or what is considered cross-examination, but in a manner that is appropriate for the child. And I will determine then the nature and form of that question. Okay?
Okay. Did you want to see the notarized letter?
I'm not going to see the notarized letter right now.
Okay.
All right. And I'm not going to see the W-2 either right now.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Deputy Phillips, go ahead and have her come in. And Deputy Phillips, if you can place that chair in the middle, so she can have a seat over.
Okay, it's not over. Don't worry. She did cut the feed for the minor, so we can only assume that they did not comply. Because what would make us think that they would comply when they have not complied at all yet?
Did you want me to answer his question?
So what was what the question?
No, it was
He-
for my daughter.
That wasn't for her.
So let me just tell you both what I heard, right? I heard pretty conclusive testimony of the minor saying that, and this contradicts what you said, that there were at least, that she was at least with you during the week and that she spent time with his parents on the
Correct.
weekends. So then the burden falls on you to tell me why the court should believe you over the child.
Again, Mr. Bowers has had the adequate time to coerce his daughter, which is our child, on what to say and how to say it. It's been this way, especially since he's changed her phone number on me twice. He's just been doing things deliberately and intentionally to create a wedge between the relationship of my child and myself.
So, and we can break it down, right? And I hear your argument that you believe that the court should not give weight to the minor's testimony because you believe that it was coached. The other part of that argument, though, is what evidence can you provide to the court that kind of outweighs the testimony that the minor provided?
Again, yeah, I have a notarized letter from my eldest daughter who was very much involved in the whole situation.
Was she present in your home for 2023? Did she live with you?
She did not reside with me. While she did not reside, she did visit for long periods of time. And any time and every time we had a discussion, it would be a family conversation, a family dynamic conversation where we would FaceTime with my eldest daughter. My mother, who resided in the home with myself and my child 24/7, was present as well.
Okay,
It would be a
let's have,
family
let's
meeting
have
setting.
your mother come in as a witness. What's her name?
Delena,
Spell for me, please.
Delena,
The child is 17.
Last name?
Foreman,
Foreman.
Reman.
Same rules. I'm gonna have Ms. Foreman sworn in. She's gonna actually sit here at the witness table. Court's gonna ask her some questions, and then I'll ask you to direct your questions to me, okay? And then I'll ask the witness to answer.
I have another issue is more or less financial.
1 second, sir, 1 second. Sorry, go ahead.
Because she hasn't been with her mother throughout, I know that her mother claimed her on her taxes and
With me that year.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna ask you to stop arguments until we finish with the witness's testimony, okay? Ms. Foreman, good afternoon. Please come over to the witness area, please. Madam Clerk will swear you in before you sit down.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter now pending before the court?
Yes,
Please state and spell your first and last name.
Delena Foreman, DELENAFOREMAN.
You go ahead and take this.
Thank you, Ms. Foreman. You've been called in to be a witness in the matter now pending before the court, and you've been sworn in. I'm going to ask you a few questions related to what the court is hearing between the parties today, and then I will allow the parties to ask questions, but they will direct their questions to me, and after I let you know whether it's okay or not to answer, you can go ahead and answer their questions. Okay? All right. Typically, when questions are asked, your answer will be based on personal knowledge, which means how much you actually know about what the question is. And it's okay to say you don't recall or if you don't.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. She stopped the feed right there. And she did not bring the feed back up, which I did warn you about. But we already know how she's going to roll. She said it. She said there was very conclusive evidence that this child lived with the father during this period. And even though the mother said, oh, no, that was coerced, that wasn't true, the judge said, okay, what evidence do you have? Well, she doesn't have any evidence. So we're pretty sure that mom lost. Mom just lost. Especially since, like, her testimony was she lived with me, but then, you know, then she lived with her grandparents. I mean, she said it a couple times, that the child would go live with the grandparents and then come back, and live with the grandparents, and then come back. Whew. But if you can see the judge right now, that's how we all feel right now. We're trying to get our heads back into focus. I don't know if I should have played both of those clips back to back because there's no reality anymore. We're in an alternate reality zone. Yeah, the bitter was very strong, but so when I pour beer from my brewery that I work at, we have IPAs, and if you've never had an IPA, it's very bitter. It's very hoppy. It's very, very hoppy. So when I talk to my customers, whenever I get someone in there who has never had an IPA before or whatever, and they take a sip and they're like, "Oh," I said, "Yeah, it tastes just like divorce, doesn't it?" Because it is very bitter. Divorce is bitter. Even the ones who are cordial, they're bitter. They always put a barb in somewhere. Oh my gosh, there's Victoria. Victoria, I tried to find. I heard that clip where the judge told everybody to be quiet and they didn't listen, and you shouted out. I remember hearing it clearly. And I tried to go through and find it, but it was so many hours of tape to look through that I gave up because I didn't have time. But we're excited to hear you today. Your voice is so sweet in that courtroom, let me tell you. Victoria works with Judge Fleischer, her and Melissa. They keep this ship going straight. I think it was Victoria. Victoria, you can tell me if I'm wrong. The other day, Judge Fleischer was talking to a lawyer, and the lawyer needed it to continue. So the judge was like, "Okay, we can do it." I think he said March 29th or whatever. And Victoria's in the background. "No, you can't do that, Judge. Judge, no. Judge, you have to do it June 5th." Or I think she said June 5th. You have to do it June 5th. Well, she kept saying it, and then the lawyer and the judge were picking all these times. And guess what day they landed on, guys? They landed on June 5th. And she was an expert. "No, Judge, I'm not going to be here. No, Judge." I wonder where Victoria's going. Nope, don't tell us. We're going to guess. Oh, man. Yep, she keeps that courtroom in tip top shape. All right, I'm sure we're all properly drunk after all those shots that we done did. So now it's time. Victoria has to go to work. She has to get Harris County, Texas safe from all the DUIs. Hopefully the judge has a good day. Friday was hard on him. He sent everybody to jail again. He doesn't like doing that. You can tell he doesn't like doing that. Jay from Michigan, I do remember. It was you, it was Miss Glow, it was Texas Vernon, and it was B24 Liberator. Right from the beginning. Right from the beginning. Yep. Well, guys, that's what I got for today. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a sob sit in Fleischer's courtroom today. No, I don't know this. I'm just hoping. We'll see. We can always hope, right? Thank you so much for coming out. I'm and going through my hot mic ordeal. Yep, Victoria, we'll see you in a couple hours. Thanks, Sally. All right, you guys behave, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Hop over to Discord, everybody. You can continue chatting, especially you, Tammy. Hop over to Discord, please. Yes, I'm gonna sleep well. That's a fact. Fozzie, thanks again for the webcam. You're too nice to me. You know that. Have a good day, Jay. Yes, we do love subsets. Yes, we do. Thanks, Darkest.